All right guys, I'm going to show you how to rebuild the RBA atomizer. Got a lot of moving parts here, so I recommend using one of these trays. You will also need a small Phillips screwdriver. So first you're going to notice we have these two screws. You're going to go ahead and remove those. Okay, so we got the two screws out. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove the top. Lid off, bucket out. Now this whole centerpiece pulls out. Okay, I'm going to set the shell down. Now from there we have our negative and positive posts and the top plate. I'm going to go ahead and leave the top plate intact. I'm going to take these two screws off, okay? Don't actually remove the entire screw because those things are a bitch to get back in. So you want to just screw it out far enough to get the plate out. Okay, once those are loosened, go ahead and remove the top plate. Okay, so now you have your plate out. Notice it doesn't need any sleeves for the wire covers, okay? Now, if you really want to break this thing down and clean it, you go ahead and remove this piece as well. I'm going to use the tweezers to make it easier on myself. Once you get it loose, you can just use your finger. So then this piece will come off completely, okay? And underneath it, you will find this piece right here. This is what helps guard the negative from making contact. So go ahead and set that aside. Now you have this piece separate, right? This piece will still come all the way out. So if you just keep unscrewing, eventually it'll untether from the body. And then bam, just pulls right out. So now you have your housing piece and you have your new center pin with the grommet. I'm going to remove the grommet just to show you this whole center pin. So this pin is one of the biggest upgrades to the actual RBA atomizer build. Redirects airflow completely, doesn't allow as much spillage, and keeps the grommet nice and clean, which is really important. So now you have all your pieces to your RBA. So let's assume you've soaked everything, you got it all clean. Let's go ahead and put it back all together, okay? So what I'm gonna start with is putting this pin and grommet back together, okay? So I'm gonna slide that back on. Okay, and then I'm gonna take this portion and this portion. I'm gonna take the bottom, the main head plate piece. I'm going to put the negative protector back on. So it should look like that. Okay. Notice I still have the screw intact because those ones are kind of a bitch to screw back in. So you really want to do your best to keep those intact. Okay, and then from there, I'm going to set this into there. Okay, now once I have this on, I'm going to go ahead and screw this back in because this will hold everything together for me. So you got to push that up a bit. You're gonna have to also thread it in. So once you have it threaded in, you should be able to see it right there. It comes through the body. So now you have your main assembly parts ready to go. It'll be a lot easier for you to put your new plate on. From there, we'll take just assume this is your new plate. Slide this into the designated holes, like so. I'm gonna hold that in place and tighten these side panels down. Okay, so once you have that, now you take the top plate. This is optional, okay? Some people like to use it, some people don't. Sometimes people feel like it cools it down too much for their taste. They have to go a little higher in temp. So this is one of those pieces where you may or may not need to have it on. I use it because I don't mind the cooler hits. and I prefer to have a protected plate. So take that. Now you can take your housing here, okay? Just drop that in like so. Now what you want to do is line these holes up with the holes on the build. Bam, right there, right? So now you can see we have the 2 intake holes. Now these ones can be a bit of a bitch because they're so tiny. You gotta take this tiny screw, because we love you guys so much. We picked the tiniest screws and the tiniest screwdrivers we could possibly find. It builds character. So you're gonna put that in. You're going to screw these on. Okay, so got one. Now it's holding that in place, so I don't have to worry so much. So we got the screws pretty much in. So now we have a pretty well built RBA, okay? Take your bucket, nothing changes here, bucket upside down, line it up into the grooves. You see these grooves right here? That little indented area? You wanna make sure your bucket just sits nicely into there, okay? Upside down, thread on nicely. Bam, you got yourself a very clean RBA.